is the instance. Some years back, some people may be saying that it's like saying I'm going to decide if I'm going to use the internet or not. It's like saying I will decide in the future if the internet is something I'm interested in or not. Now, it will be a very good thing, because be very careful to play safe, to be sure that what we're trying to step into or put our feet or engage or spend our quality time into is not a waste of time. It's not something that will later waste our time. Okay, so basically that is not it. Crypto is one of the things that must catch up with you. It must catch up with you. It must. It was Web 1, which started in 1990s to 2000, and then it evolved. Now that kind of internet, Web 1 is that kind of internet that you can only read. They are static read-only web pages. Now when you open that time, when you log into the internet, you can only read what is there. You can only read what is there. You cannot interact with the pages. You cannot move, do anything. That is how the internet was. And we can mostly see those ones in movies. We've seen those ones in movies before. That's an example of Web 1, static. So you can see Explorer. You remember the Explorer, what do we call it now? The Explorer logo that time, before they moved to Edge, MSN. Those are illustrations of Web 1. Then from 2000 to year 2020, the popular, Web 2, 2000s, 2020. But now, there's something I want to make you understand. From that 2000 to 2020 is not entirely that between 2000 and year 2000 and then year 2020, all was Web 2. No. In between 2000 and 2022, Web 2 has been doing very well. An example of Web 2 is social media platforms where you can interact, where you can go and buy something, you can make purchases online, you can pay for stuff online, you can type. Facebook will ask you, what does Facebook even ask? What do you think today, or what's on your mind, or something like that. That is an illustration, that is an example of Web 2. You can interact. It's information centric and interactive. So you are getting a lot of information, you are now interacting with the system. Now then we now moved, or we are at Web 3. Now Web 3 is user centric, decentralized, private and secure. Now what happens with Web 2 is that Web 2 takes your information. Let me look for my PowerPoint and see. Web 2 looks for your information. Now, so taking your information is not with your permission. That's how Web 2 works. Web 2 works, it takes your information without your permission. So with that, they take data, what you put, where you go, what you do, things like that. Let me see if I can zoom this thing so we can see it properly. Okay. Now, for instance, now take a look at this. Web 1, Yahoo, the Yahoo emails, the Google, you can Google things. But in Web 2, we now have Twitter, Pinterest, all these other things, WordPress, Facebook, UPS, you can email, send email, receive email, all those things. They were present. Are you still seeing my screen, or my screen has gone off? Right, so they were present, and you will see YouTube, all those things. That a typical example of Web 2. Now when we got to Web 3, Web 3 was interactive. Now Web 3 is an internet of ownership, an internet where you own a piece of the internet. But you see these things with Facebook, you see these things with Pinterest, you really don't own it. Anybody can wake up one day and then things change. Before you realize they've deactivated your Facebook account, or they've deactivated a major thing that you do
on internet, which doesn't make sense to me. I think it is better and proper that everybody has a right. So our information is sold on internet. That is why Facebook is a very good marketplace. What do you think social media platforms sell? How do they make their money? They sell a product, and the product that they sell is our attention and our data. That is what they sell. So you don't make money from that. You don't own any piece of that. You can only use or leverage on the marketplace that was given. Okay? Now, these images you're seeing, Web3, you can read, write, you can trust, and it's verifiable. That's how Web3 internet is. Okay? Now, with that in mind, blockchain technology is the bedrock of the internet, of that particular internet that we're talking about, that gives you ownership. That's Web3. You cannot mention Web3 without mentioning the blockchain technology. Now, the blockchain technology, the history of blockchain technology actually started from, what do we call that now? 2009. Now, even though the concept, the idea didn't start from 2009, the visual expression started from 2009. The concept of distributed computing has been around since 1990. Okay, now 1990. Distributed computing is like storing information in different places. You are distributing the information, you are not storing the information in one specific place. Now, so let's talk a little about this distributed computing. For instance, I've seen shops where people come to buy stuff, and then the person sitting in the shop writes down what he sells and the amount. So the person writes, somebody bought detergent or Ariel detergent, 900 naira. The person keeps writing it and documenting it. The person keeps documenting and documenting in one place. The thing about it, that is, the information that person is writing in a book, if anything happens to that information, it is destroyed. And that information is not stored anywhere else. So you don't have an option but to trust that information that is written in that book. Okay, so we can call that a record book or a ledger that keeps a record of your transactions, a ledger that keeps a record of what you've sold, the things you bought, just a record book like that. Now, the idea of this computing not happening in one place started since 1990. Mostly when I started reading about, in my research, it really came alive in 1991. Now, so the idea started materializing then. So computing, even though internet was not everywhere, but computing was gearing towards decentralization or distributed computing, so that if a record is kept here and something destroys the record, you still have the record somewhere else. So that if a record is kept here and it is kept somewhere else, you can compare. Because this lady that is selling something in the shop, if she decides to write a different figure, there's nothing you can do about it. Or she sells something and she doesn't write it down, there's nothing you can do about it. There is no there's no way to checkmate it and make sure that it is okay. Fast forward from that 1991, the concept started. So around 2009, that was when Satoshi Nakamoto. Now Satoshi, we don't know if it's an individual or is a group of people, but the person has actually not come out to say this is who he is or this is what he's doing. Right? But okay, the person has said what he's doing, but we don't know the identity till today. Now introduce the concept of a blockchain, right? So to incarnate a decentralized ledger maintained by anonymous consensus. Now, maintained by anonymous consensus means the ledger now, the record book is kept with individuals or kept with in different places, not stored in one place, and then the persons that are maintaining it or where they are stored, you don't know their identity. So if you don't know the identity of who is storing something, you will not be able to destroy it or tamper with it. That's the idea. So as at 2011-2012, the deployment of the cryptocurrency in application related cash and everything. So by 2009, that was when we started hearing about Bitcoin. Gradually, as time was evolving, other cryptocurrencies started coming up, other blockchains started imitating the Bitcoin blockchain, and then things started evolving and coming to life. Now, so let's talk a little about this blockchain and what it means. Now, Bitcoin is not blockchain. Cryptocurrency is not blockchain. Blockchain is the technology that cryptocurrencies are built on. Blockchain, oh my god, blockchain is a technology that allows, let me see, sorry, my internet is about to go off, so I'm trying to see. Okay, so as I said, blockchain is a technology that cryptocurrencies are built on. Cryptocurrencies are built on a technology called the blockchain technology. Now, it is improper or wrong for you to say that Bitcoin is blockchain or cryptocurrency is blockchain. Blockchain is like a platform that allows you to find different expressions. So, for instance, as I said, blockchain or cryptocurrency, pressure. Now, let me give you another instance, okay? So, the blockchain technology is like electricity, and electricity can power many devices, right? You can power a fan, you can power a refrigerator, you can power AC, you can power different things with electricity. Now, that's the same thing with blockchain. Blockchain can power cryptocurrency. Blockchain can power many other things. In fact, the idea of what a blockchain is, the blockchain is just a record-keeping mechanism. Is a record-keeping mechanism. So as long as the internet exists, that's how long that the blockchain will remain. Can only improve on it. You cannot destroy the records on the block of the blockchain. Okay, now, so as I rightly said, the blockchain technology is not cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is what is an expression, is a part that is expressed. It's like you have Android phone, and then there are applications that can be on the Android phone, right? Or you have an iOS, there are applications that can be run on an iOS. That is blockchain, and that is cryptocurrency. Okay, so with that said, we already know that's the reason why we are very confident, and we keep saying that nothing can happen to crypto, or nothing can happen to there is no effect to what the government is saying and all whatnot with regards cryptocurrency, is because of the knowledge that we have about blockchain. It's because of the knowledge that we have about the system of how it works. Now, cryptocurrency came as a means of transaction. It's like transacting with money, but it is not stored in one place. The record is not stored in a specific place. It's like owning the money. Now, we have said it before, and we said that money keeps evolving. There's an evolution of money. They said money started from the barter system, where you exchange goods for goods, where you exchange things for things. Now, but then there was something that happened called coincidence of needs, I guess, because sometimes if I want to exchange yam for a shirt, what if you do not need the shirt, or you do not, I want to exchange yam for you, you don't need the yam, but you have the shirt that I need. We need to find something that we all need. That's how we went to start getting money, paper, coins, gold, cowries, metals, till it kept evolving until we started using, what do we call that now? We started using paper money, until we started using card plastic money, and we went to use electronic money, and now we've moved, and then we're using cryptocurrencies. Now, card money is like your ATM card. Electronic money is transfer and everything. So that is how the evolution has been going, and this is how far we've come, and this is where we've stopped so far. Now, but cryptocurrency is not in full swing because it's not fully understood, and not everybody has grasped the idea and stayed with it. Okay? Now, with that in mind, right? That in mind, let's move further and then talk about the crypto on its own. Okay? Now, if cryptocurrency is money and then we are using it to transact, how is it different from the normal transaction that we've been doing? Why should we trust it more? Why are we talking about it? Why are we talking about crypto this way? Okay, now normally it's in transactions that we see the difference. So I want to try out something, and then let's see how it will work. Let me share this.
What is blockchain? Blockchain is the decentralized ledger of all transactions across a peer-to-peer network. Wait, what? Okay, let's take a step back. How does an online transaction work mechanically? So you go on Amazon, you find a product you like, then you enter your credit card information and you checked out. On the back end of this simple online checked out process, there are quite a few parties involved in this transaction. First, you give your credit card's information to Amazon. Amazon would send authorization requests to the payment processing networks like MasterCard, Visa, or American Express. These payment processing networks would ask your bank for their approval to see if you have enough money or credit limit in your banks. Once your bank is done confirming that you have money, the transaction's validation goes all the way back to Amazon. Amazon would give you order receipt and your banks will send you your credit card statement. Every parties involved in this transaction would have their own version of the transaction record as well that will look different than yours. Before blockchain, these data and records would often store in data tables. Think of it like a boring, long Excel spreadsheet. Ledgers just mean these records in spreadsheet format. And centralized just mean that the companies control their own ledgers. So what we got before is data table is a centralized ledger of all transactions across a lot of middlemen. This is where blocks come in. A block is not a data table. A block is just a different ways to secure and store data. A block can contain any relevant data information about a transaction, like buyer, seller, the amount paid, the product order, or the date of the transaction. A hash is a unique identity of the block. You can compare this to your most unique, secure, encrypted biometric, which is almost impossible to fake. The last element of the block is the previous hash. Previous hash creates the chain to connect the block to the previous block hash that contains previous record. This makes blockchain very secure because it's extremely difficult to fake the identity of the block. Even when you manage to hack the hash, your blockchain will break because you would have to change all the hash before and after that block as well. Now to make blockchain even more secure, blockchain use a peer-to-peer network where everyone can have the same copy of the blockchain. These peers in the network act as an agent or node, monitoring the activities on the blockchain. If there's a new block trying to be added to the chain, everyone in the network will have to verify whether or not this block is valid.
And this is what it means. The way the blockchain works is similar to the way our transaction has been working before. It's similar, but it is not the same. I don't know if you can hear me, but then it is similar, but it is not the same. Now, the way transactions work on the blockchain is pretty different from the way transactions work normally. Now, how do they work? How does transactions work on the blockchain? They work in a very simple way, according to the video according to the video that we watched. So when you want to buy something online, for instance, what happens is you see what you want to buy, you try to make payment, and then your bank, you want to buy with your card, for instance, right? So you want to buy from Amazon. Amazon is going to inquire from your card service providers, maybe MasterCard or Visa card, and the Visa card is now going to ask your bank if you have the amount of money there. Right, so your bank is going to check, and when it confirms that you have it, so what do we call them now? Your bank reports back to MasterCard or Visa. Now MasterCard now tells Amazon that, okay, the credit card information that you sent, the person can actually get the goods, and then you are deducted and everybody is happy. Now what is happening is that MasterCard is going to have their record of the transaction, your bank is going to have the record of the transaction, you are going to have a record of the transaction, Amazon is going to have a record of their transaction, but all the records are going to be in their own way. It is not a unified record. It's not the same kind of record. Okay, so what happens on the blockchain is just simple. In this regard, what is happening is that instead of having individual records on a spreadsheet, records written down, the blockchain, the way it records information is that it is recorded in a block. That's why it's called blockchain. It is recorded in a block. Now, a block is going to have every information about the transaction. Every information. Now, when it has every information, it now has a unique ID. Every block has a unique ID. And that unique ID is what is linking one block to the next block. So the unique ID, part of what is in the unique ID of this block is called transaction hash. That is on this block is going to be carried and be put on the next block so that a new transaction can form, or a new transaction can be formed. But let me go back again and say it. Now, transactions on the blockchain, normal transactions, you want to buy something from Amazon, you put in your credit card information on Amazon. Amazon now asks MasterCard. MasterCard will now ask your bank. So your bank now confirms to MasterCard that you have the set amount of money in your account, and then your MasterCard now tells Amazon that, okay, yes, we can deduct the money, the person has it, so give the person the product or whatever he wants to buy. So, and then the person, you now pay for it and you get your goods. Now, Amazon is going to have a record of the transaction. You are going to have a record of the transaction because your bank is going to send it to you. Your bank also has a record of the transaction, and MasterCard has a record of the transaction. So everybody has different individual records. Okay. Now, if you want to do another transaction, MasterCard has nothing to do with your previous transaction or anything. They will just ask your bank to do that. Now, if there is any alteration or there's any discrepancy, it only happens in your bank. So if your bank says that you don't have the money, even when you have the money, you will not be able to make purchases or buy that thing that you want to buy. So the blockchain technology came with a different method, yeah? So the method is where the information is recorded in one block. Every information about a transaction is recorded in one block. That was what we saw in the video. Every information is recorded in one block. Now, So what's on the block? The information about the transaction, the time, the date, the amount. Yes, time, date, amounts, where the transaction is coming from, and who is receiving the transaction. Who is receiving it. So there's a timestamp in the transaction. There's a unique ID called transaction hash. There's a unique ID called transaction hash. Now that in itself, it records everything. So, but every transaction hash is like the identity of the block, and then that transaction hash, to get the next block, that transaction hash is also linked to the next block. So you cannot add a new block without a link to the old block. So that is why it is called blockchain. Now, these records are kept by different nodes, right? Different nodes, like different computers globally, different computers. That is why today, any transaction that is done on the blockchain, you can check and you will find it no matter how long it has stayed. If you have the transaction hash or the wallet, you will trace every transaction from anybody everywhere. So now the way the record is kept is like the record is kept on different computers globally. Anybody can check the validity of a transaction. Okay, so blockchain is a distributed ledger shared across peer-to-peer computing network. As I told you, it's like keeping records, but not keeping a record in one place. That's why it's called distributed. In fact, blockchain is actually called distributed ledger technology, a technology that allows you to distribute records and information in multiple places as opposed to keeping it in one place, in a specific place. So it is distributed amongst different places. So it is a distributed ledger technology in which the transaction records are maintained in a distributed fashion, which is connected over a peer-to-peer network architecture. Right now, every node holds a record or a copy of the transaction. So you are not depending on one single entity to give you, to uphold your records and anything. But it is easier to trust so many people or many information, so that if a transaction is about to be carried out, it will not, one person will not change it, or one will not rely on one person's information, but we can see it in multiple places. If one node or one computer gives an error message, the transaction is not going to go ahead. Okay, now this distributed ledger technology, okay, is just as simple as it means. You are keeping or storing information in multiple places. Your transactions are immutable. Your transactions are encrypted. And your transaction has a unique signature called a hash. Okay, so basically, the simple concept is that the blockchain allows you to store records of transactions in multiple places so that it cannot be destroyed and it can be trustworthy. The blockchain allows you to store records in multiple devices or multiple nodes so that it cannot be destroyed and it can be trusted. So there is correlation between every transaction happening everywhere. So you can't destroy it. That is why it has become difficult to destroy cryptocurrency, because it is built on said technology, which is the blockchain. Built on that technology, and nobody can do anything about it. Countries, financial institutions, they've tried and tried, but till date, nobody has been able to destroy it, because you can't destroy all the blocks in the blockchain. Okay? So in simple terms, what you need to understand about the blockchain is that
It is easy, but the blockchain is just a record of transactions stored in multiple places. Multiple places called nodes. Peer-to-peer because they are also anonymous and they are encrypted. You don't know who the person is and they are anonymous. So it's very basic. So if you will forget anything about the concept of blockchain, just remember these things I've said. Okay? The blockchain stores information or records in multiple places, multiple nodes. Hence, it cannot be destroyed. Hence, it cannot